If you can break your life down into the most important things that need to happen and go on in your life, it helps ease your mind and it helps you to know what you should spend your time on.
You're the only power.
Stop. I'm about to bring up not one, not two, but three powerhouse women who are going to talk to us all about building our brand, our social presence online. They are super badasses. I'm about to get into them. They are giving us tips on building your social influencer brand and portfolio for pay. For pay, ladies. Here's the thing, y'all. We know everybody's online. Everybody's online and we're all, popping and making sure we're tweeting using our hashtags, but are you getting paid for what you're doing and how you're showing up? These three ladies are going to talk to us today about that. And because Christy's always got something extra for us, y'all. At 4:00, we've added another session. That's right, Janae Adams is going to come and she's going to talk to us about speaking for dollars. Krista just laid it out like this. She says, look, that's my number one paid speaking client. So stick around right on after this one. Like I said, here we go. I'm about to introduce our three ladies. We have three ladies, 1, 2, 3. They are all here today and they are about to get into their session. Coming up are, hold on, you put my flyer back up. There you go. Coming up are Pauleanna Reid. Pauleanna is a media badass, y'all. I love her. I saw you in the chat. Hey, girl, hey. She is a media badass, y'all. You've seen her byline in a little magazine called Forbes, little business insider. And she has done an amazing job also of building her personal brand and her online presence. So she's going to tell us all about that. And then we've got Miss Britney Bright. She is a top influencer and coach, and she also manages manages influencers, and she's going to talk all about that because, again, what do we want to do? We all want to be influencers and that kind of thing, right? And then we got Miss Sarah Lovestyle, and she is a lifestyle influencer, a chef, and a social media expert, and she is going to talk to us about that part of building her brand. So without any further ado, I'm going to be joined by these beautiful ladies to talk about building your influencer brand and portfolio for pay. Welcome to the session, ladies.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, y'all. How y'all doing?
Good. How's everybody doing?
Really good.
Fantastic. Y'all look really good and ready for the occasion.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Have you all been able to listen behind the set at some of the amazing speakers who've been here this morning, like all throughout the day?
Yeah. Knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away. Blown away. Christy brought it even virtually, y'all. This Global Power Tour is banging. So I want to really quickly have each of you give us a little bit about yourselves. Tell me who you are, give me your bio, and then also tell us who you help. We talk about the marketplace out there. Who wants to get started? Pauleanna, I'll start with you. I introduced you first.
All right. My name is Pauleanna Reid. I am a Forbes journalist. I've been with Forbes for about 3 years. But outside of my work, when it comes to reporting on women in business, I'm an agency owner. I'm a celebrity ghostwriter, and I help the leaders and doers who are shaping the future turn their personal stories into brand assets.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Love it. Sarah, let us know who you are.
Hi, guys. I am Sarah. I'm a wife, a mama of 2. I'm an autism mom, a heart attack survivor. I became an influencer because I was mad and I was angry, and I'm like, God, can you do something with this? Because this is not healthy. What do you want me to do with it? I became an influencer, which turned into now running, I am CEO of 3 companies and a partner at Agency Lux Co., which is a digital marketing agency.
Wow, Sarah, you know we're going to get into that when we get a little bit further down, but wow. All righty, Miss Britney, hello, boo, up in the top corner up there. How you doing? Tell the people who you are and who you serve.
Hi, everybody. My name is Britney Bright. I am the founder of the Influencer League, as well as an influencer, lifestyle influencer myself. I have a almost 4-year-old son. He'll be 4 next week. So you'll see me crying a lot on social media very soon. But the Influencer League is a digital platform aimed towards helping educate and give opportunities to influencers of color. And we are also an official partner with MSL, which is a global PR and influencer marketing agency.
We love it. We love it. Chrissy is over here snapping her fingers. Just FYI, we hear something in the background. It's just Chris over here snapping it up. So,
Love
ladies,
it.
before we get started and actually jump into it, let's talk about influencing. And what are 3 things that each of you would advise someone to do to build a brand that's professional, clear, and then something that is worth partnering with? We'll start with you, Sarah, just so we can talk over one another.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I would say is authenticity. It's almost cliche now. I feel like everybody says that, but be you. At the end of the day, there's no one like you. Your story is specific to you and you alone. And so no one can retell your story. It doesn't matter if there's 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 influencers on the planet. Your story, you're the only one that can tell it. The second thing that I would say when it comes to becoming an influencer is understanding your message, understanding your voice. Can you be clear and concise about who you are and what you do? One of the rules that not really rules, but one of the things that we talk about a lot in the agency is in 2 sentences, can you tell me who you are, what you do, and how you can help someone? And the third thing is make sure that you're able to be very clear about solving a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You want value. If there's no value there, there's no reason for people to follow you. Everybody on Instagram is beautiful. Everybody on social media is beautiful. Everybody has, it's the same. The question is, how do you separate yourself from everyone else? And one of the ways that brands want to work with you is when you can clearly state, 1, who you are, what you do, where you're from, and can you be so real and authentically yourself?
Sarah, I think that is fantastic because you just hit a few things on the nail. I'm not going to even do the big follow-up on that. I'm going to let the other ladies answer, but we're going to go back to that. Okay, Pauleanna, tell me about that. What are those things that people need to have in mind when they're talking about, how to present myself as an influencer so that I can have people and brands want to partner with me?
So I think the first thing is getting over analysis paralysis. Right? So getting out of your head and making sure that you're posting with intention. I think a lot of people get sucked into the cyber glitter and everything has to be perfect. Honestly, for me, like I don't necessarily follow that rule. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're going to see me cry with snot bubbles. Other times you're going to see me, glammed up. Like there's different sides to me as a business owner and as a woman. The second thing is consistency. I think that it's, I think a lot of people, their expectations exceed their effort. And so you want to be consistent. I mean, every single artist, executive, celebrity was once an amateur, right? Everyone starts at 0. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. And then much to what Sarah said is your brand story, right? Like, I think that's really what's going to be your North Star. That's really what's going to anchor you. I mean, you in the beginning of the conversation, you asked us, who you are and what you do. And I think society is so tied up in titles, but I think it's really important to understand who you are beyond them, right? I'm a millennial woman who has fought for her dreams and won. Right? I am not a writer or a celebrity. Like none of that stuff makes it
like, I love you. I would do for you in a heartbeat and just root for you and cheer for you. And it's because of your authenticity. It's because you share, again, it ain't the cute. I mean, because we can all, again, trust me, I didn't look up like this, but we can all look this way if we want to. But it's these authentic moments that allow people to say, well, damn, she's really just like me, relatable.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of self-work and self-assessment that a lot of people are not doing. And that's why the dots are not connecting. I mean, I've been on social media for nearly 10 years now. And I think that, you know what I mean? Like, you can't get caught up in the vanity of it all. If no one likes my posts, which rarely happens anymore, but when in the beginning, when no one likes my posts, I would like that shit myself.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to talk that shit to yourself. Like, you can't let other people you can't get swept up in what other people, you know, expect you to be, or, you know, just like, you have to make sure you have your North Star at the end of the day. So like,
Do you hear snap?
I hear it. And I'll say one last thing. It's like, again, with the brand story and the North Star, like, what is your mission statement, right? Like, for me, like, when people, if you go to any one of my posts, the thread that connects them all is, I help people see beyond the limits of their circumstances. And I want people to know that there's life after disappointment.
Oh, wow, that's huge. Love it, love it, love it. Miss Britney, let's talk about it, darling. What are those things that they need to do to be able to create something that makes people want to partner beyond just, oh, they have great pictures?
Well, I mean, it's a very tough act to follow after what Sarah and Pauleanna said. I mean, they said it all. But just like, I'm speaking from having the experience working on the brand side and being the person to make the judgment call on, do we want to hire this influencer for a campaign? And then being on the influencer side, and then being on the side where I'm helping other influencers understand their value, see their worth, and really build out their story to create that content. Speaking from all of those different sides, what Sarah and Pauleanna said, no matter what side you're on, if you're the person hiring an influencer, if you're the influencer, or if you are someone helping influencers, the answer is the same. What value are you providing your audience? That's not just for working with brands. That's not just for yourself. That's not just for helping you gain new followers. It's for all of it. What value are you providing? That consistency with that content, but is that content high quality? Is it appealing? The people get caught up on that. Oh, I don't have this fancy camera. I can't afford a photographer to create this high quality content. High quality is relative. I can grab my iPhone right now and go outside and take a high quality photo that I guarantee you Walmart will use in repost or try to use in an ad if I've given them rights to do so. That can be high quality. Appealing content isn't the aesthetic that you see where everyone has the same preset on all of their presets on all of their photos. That's not necessarily what appealing means. Is it appealing to you? Are you happy with it? Is it appealing to your audience, the people who you're following? And then that authenticity. When you're posting on social media, when you're deciding and making those decisions on what you're going to share with everyone else, are you speaking as your true self? Are you speaking to them like they're your best friend? So if you see me post a caption, and just know that caption wasn't pre-written. I wrote that right there. The picture may have been taken a week ago, but that caption is exactly how I felt at that time, because I want my audience to know and feel like, you know, they're talking to their friend. I want you to know how I feel right then and there. So consistency, content, authenticity. And when it comes to when you're ready to get paid, bottom line, create the content that you want to get paid to create. You cannot be a food blogger and step out and say, oh, I want to, do a food, like not a food blog. If you're a food blogger and you want to step out and say, oh, I want to do a fashion campaign. Well, are you creating any fashion content? So keep it relative. You do not have to niche down. Don't box yourself into a corner. So if you are a food blogger, don't say, oh, I can't do food because I'm not a food blogger. No, just start implementing that type of content into your everyday posts if that's something that you want to do. But also understand, if you're trying to dive into this and you're trying to get started, create the content you want to get paid to create.
Stay right there, Britney. Don't leave, because you mentioned where we were going with our next question. And you're Kristen's influencer coach, right? So you work with her on that, and we obviously know, branding wise and influencing wise, she has an amazing brand that people know exactly who and what she is. So it's like you see the luxurious side, which I love that she's showing that, because she's showing that, listen,
talk about that.
Yeah. Just like working your butt off and over here toiling, and we can still have some nice things, but she also knocks you over the head with the amazing content. Let's talk about, how can a person determine what niche will actually work for their personality? Like, how do you, and I'll use myself just real quick for an example. I think I'm very, Pauleanna, you kind of talked about like, oh, it all has to be tight and right and all together. Like that's kind of, when I first started, that's where my head was. But what I realized is that I'm just a regular girl. And I'm a girl who want to talk about, like, yeah, I teach you on dating, love, relationships, and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, listen, I got some kids over here. My kids don't sleep at night. I still got this teenager who makes me crazy. I'm halfway on the keto every now and again. You know, I got the whole struggles of the IVF. So it's like, I'm a woman. And being able to show that I'm a whole woman, I think has allowed other women to say, hey, girl, hey, because you're not afraid to say, yeah, I'm a curvy girl. And guess what? I don't always, look, sometimes it ain't tight and right. Mm-hmm. So being able to open up and say that. So how do people actually share those parts of their personality to kind of determine, like, what is my niche? Like, what should I be doing?
Honestly, I have a lot of students and members within the Influencer League who have struggled a lot with being able to implement different niches because they feel like Pauleanna says, you get stuck on the title, like, oh, I'm a food blogger, I'm travel, I'm beauty. And I always say to them exactly what you just said, Tara. You are a person. Even if you don't consider yourself a fashion blogger, you still got to wear clothes. You're probably not posting on Instagram naked. If you are, that's fine. But you're not. You still got to wear clothes. So what's your personal style based on who you are as a person? What are you eating every day? Don't feel like you need to put a title on it. I personally will say that I'm a lifestyle influencer, but I talk about my job. I talk about my son 24/7. I talk about, what I'm wearing. If I, feel like crap, I'll post and say, oh, I feel like crap today. Oh, yeah. So I think it's more so just getting over that hurdle of not trying to put a title on it. Just post it. You never know what your audience wants to see from you. There have been times where I'd have an influencer who will say, oh, well, I'm really good at like kickboxing. And I'm like, I've never seen anything about kickboxing on your page. How am I supposed to know that? How is your audience supposed to know that if you're not showing it? We are all, like well-rounded individuals. And it's just as simple as take a picture, show us what you're doing today, show us what you're eating, wearing, how are you feeling? Just do it.
Do it. Ladies, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say to piggyback, I hate that word, but to piggyback on what Britney said, text 5 friends and ask them what your greatest asset is. Like, right? Like sometimes we can't. Sometimes we can't necessarily see it within ourselves, and maybe you need that outside perspective. And when you execute exactly what Britney has done, when you're consistent with that over time, you can look back on your analytics to see what your audience is actually engaging with, right? And you cannot help an audience that you don't understand, right? So you need to really spend time. Like, I mean, I've had some audience members grow up with me for the last, since I started social media in my early 20s, right? We've grown up together, much like, us and, our generation, the Backstreet Boys and shit, you know what I mean? Like, right? So like, you really want to make sure that like, you can identify those super fans as well, right? And you personalize those interactions with those super fans, because you know what? Those super fans are going to drive 300 miles to see you on stage. Those super fans are going to buy your ebook, your audiobook, your hardcover, your paperback, right? And so you really want to make sure you're paying attention to the details and the data.
I love that. I love it. Sarah.
Oh gosh, I don't know how I follow up with you,
but you all are all amazing. And I know as we keep asking the questions, and then you're like, what she said and what she said. Just know I got a bunch of badasses right here with me right now, ladies. So y'all are getting
you got Tara.
A bunch of badasses. I'm just saying, like, it gets no better. So it's like, and the good thing is there is no competition in this room. We are all collaborating and giving information. Well, y'all are. I'm talking about we are. I'm just asking the questions. But you know what I'm saying. You all are working in sync to give them everything. So go ahead, Sarah.
There is so much space. This whole idea of crabs in a barrel mentality where, we can't all work together, or I can't give you gems because I think you're going to take. There's room. What's meant for you is meant for you. So I don't even worry about it. I share it because just like all of these ladies, we share it because, first of all, I wish someone this existed, and I wish someone would have told me what I know now 4 years ago when I started. And to go off of what both of the women said, the one thing that I have understood in my journey is that I am my niche. So nobody can tell me nothing. Nobody can tell my story like I can. Nobody, based on what social media would have told me 4 years ago, the mistakes that I would have been making is the fact that technically I have 5 niches. I'm in fitness. I'm in heart health. I am an autism mom. I'm a mom. I'm a chef. And then I also have this. So you can be whatever it is that you desire to be, but there has to be a level of storytelling, and the messaging needs to be consistent, kind of like what Britney was saying. If you are passionate about what you do, and also understand that passion and purpose aren't synonymous. So make sure that purposes change. Your passion changes, but your purpose doesn't. So, how I feel about something changes at any given moment. And I might find that my passion in this one time might not be, I used to be a beauty blogger. I'm passionate about makeup, but that's not my purpose. It's not what I do. So it's, just know that you can be whatever it is you desire to be, but just like Brittany was saying, share those things. And I can admit, confession, that I thought that my feed needed to be perfect. My page had to be perfect. It had to be so in sync with the same filter. My face needed to be beat to the gods, or people, it wasn't good enough. But I will say this, COVID taught me that the most authentic version, wild, TikToking, can't dance version of the version that my audience loves. So do that. If you love to cook, do that. My cooking and pop-ups showed up because I was cooking all my stories because I had nothing else to do. So people can't love you for what you don't show.
Absolutely. And I think for you, they're still snapping and clapping. I think for you, and this is just by profession, I'm a TV producer, right? Even though Christy told me that ain't your calling, girl. Sis, God got something else for you. But you actually being able to, because again, I think people are so used to, no, I'm just going to be this one perfect person. When I'm thinking in terms of a producer, you got so many layers. Mm-hmm. Like you have so many layers of bookability, if you will, when I'm hearing you talk about all the different things that are going on in your life. And so I think that we talk about who you are and who people are, not being afraid to show all of those different sides, because you just, first of all, never know who's watching. Again, I do dating, love, and relationships. What am I doing? You're hosting, because I also do that. That's also something that is a part of who I am. And so I think that, as much as we want to look at like, oh, what's my niche? But being able to show your personality and all of it really does get you a bit further. So
can I counter that?
Yes.
So I do think everything that we've said is on point, but I also want to be very mindful, because you have some people who are a photographer one day, a babysitter the next day, or a horseback rider the next day. So in the context of a business woman, what do you want to be known for, right? So like there has to be an anchor, and then you build layers, because you have some people that are really all over the place. And when you confuse your audience, they will not open their wallet. So it's something that you kind of have to learn over time to really know that cadence and like the balance and whatnot.
Absolutely. So to reiterate, ladies, to make sure what Pauleanna is saying is that we're talking about people who you have a brand, you've already been out there, people know who you are. However, now we're saying, okay, it's okay to add in those extra layers of saying, I also enjoy doing this. When I was on my weight loss journey, I was taking people spinning with me. So it's like, oh, go spinning with me. When I go walking, listen, I post pictures and I'm like, I promise I'm not catfishing you, because I know that I don't look the same as that cute little picture in that circle when I'm out running. We're not talking about on today, oh, I'm going to be known for a cookie. And then tomorrow, but no, I'm actually an author. And so be very clear about what the ladies are offering as advice and information. So thank you for clarifying that, so we make sure that no one is confused about that. Another thing that a lot of people think is that, oh, well, in order for me to be an influencer, I have to have all of the brands. I have to have all of the designer labels and things like that. Let's talk about what an influencer is, and do you really need all the designer things just to be an influencer?
Well, I don't own anything designer, so I'm going to say no.
And it's working out for you, Brittany.
It worked for me. I don't own it, so I say no. And it's so funny that you asked that, because last night I was actually on the phone with a very good friend of mine, and she is a content strategist. And she's in Detroit, or she was in Detroit, working with one of her clients, and everyone had, like Chanel bags and boots and Fendi and this. And they were telling her much of what I've said to her before is that, what's the rush on purchasing this designer? Is it for you? Is it something that you truly have a passion for, and you just really, want to collect designer bags or shoes or what have you? Or is it something that you want to post on social media because everyone else is doing it? Kind of like the Gucci belt that the influencers wear. Is it really, something that you feel like you need right now? I understand wanting to gift yourself something nice when you have a huge accomplishment. And to be completely honest, for Christmas, I want to buy myself something nice. But I also have, over time, especially throughout this year, stopped and asked myself, is this something that I really need right now? Who is this for? Is this really for me or not? And so I think that's the biggest thing with social media, is that it's easy to get swept up in what you see other people doing, because you're only seeing that, not the facade, because there are a lot of authentic people on social media, but we also see the side that's influential but not really impactful, so that simple influence is just the vision that you see. So you do not need to have designer, you do not have to have a big fancy house and a beautiful kitchen and a nice car to be a content creator, and don't let that stop you either.
Because my memory gets a little bad, I had to write it down. You said you can be influential
but not impactful.
And that is a big thing out there in the marketplace, on the social media. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm an influencer, but it's like, are you making an impact? What are you doing? How are you impacting? Ladies, did anyone else want to add to designer brands or anything before I move on to the other question?
Yeah, well, I think Britney was absolutely correct. But honestly, there's influencers, but then there's people who actually know the business of influencing. And if you're trying to
break it down for us, come on.
Well, if you're trying to keep your money, right? If you're about your coin, you're going to keep your costs low. Every businesswoman knows that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And and again, because I follow you and I know your story, you got your coins all the way together, got your finances, all of that together. So it's like, ladies, what are we really doing? Are we showing up to be able to post that, oh, I have this? Or are we paying down debt? Are we paying down bills? Do we have money in the bank? Right?
Well, I think it's important to also ask yourself, what is the purpose for the money that I'm earning? Right? What is the life that I'm designing for myself? Because then you'll move differently when you have, again, that North Star.
So Pauleanna, leave it open, because you just talked about being a smart businesswoman. So when we talk about being an influencer, how would a person go about getting a brand interested in them if they do have a small audience? So say that they've been doing everything right. They're being impactful with their audience, but they're not yet at the numbers of an influencer. How would they get someone or a brand interested in them, even if they are still small?
But I think brands are actually into micro influencers, right? So I don't think most people have a problem attracting the brands. I think most people have a problem negotiating, right? Negotiating their worth and really bringing a number forward that makes sense. And to be honest, I say no a lot more than I say yes, right? And again, when you know yourself and you know what you want to align yourself with, it'll be very easy for you to have those non-negotiables. So I personally don't do a lot of brand deals. I very, very selective. My revenue streams come in other forms. But when I do decide to partner with a brand, it's because I really believe in the mission, and the partnership is something that I want to continue to build on.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Ladies, anyone else want to add to that question? Sarah?
Yes, I completely agree with everything she just said. Here's the other thing. Influence is only two people. If you influence me and I influence you to purchase something, or I influence you to do something, I influence you to cook with me, go to the gym, work, that's influence. You don't need, and Listen, right now, micro influencers are in, especially, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I'm going to anyway, especially as a Black woman, I'm charging double what they're charging everybody else because I know you need my audience.
Wait a minute. Sarah, you have to say that again because I keep saying we did not just come out. We've been here. We've been here.
And now I'm even more.
Listen.
More. And the reason for that is because now you finally understand my value, and because you understand my value, now you're willing to pay me what I asked for before. But see, now I'm going to double it just because I know you do. And you can, and they're more than welcome to say no. And also, I will say this: please negotiate. Please.
Everything is negotiable. Everything.
Break that down for them, ladies.
You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate.
Correct.
Don't be nice. State your price.
Correct.
Don't be nice. State your price. That simply means they almost expect you to come back with a different number, right? You're going to say, hey, here's my number. Or they say, here's the number. And then you say, oh, but here's my number. And then you guys somewhere in the middle, and y'all start dancing and doing your thing. And guess what? Even if the number doesn't change, maybe the concessions do. And maybe they say, well, we can't give you more money, but what we could do is give you additional posts and this, that, and the other. What they are saying is the first offer just won't do. The first offer just won't do. Let's talk about real quick, because this is a great point, because I think a lot of people miss this. How do you figure out what your non-negotiables are, right? Because I think sometimes people have in their mind like, oh, well, it needs to be this number. But I'm a smart businesswoman. Guess what? The number sometimes is not the bottom line for me when I understand the opportunity, right? And so I think sometimes we get so caught up, well, girl, they didn't want to pay me X, Y, Z. But sometimes we miss great opportunities because we're not being smart businesswomen. Ladies, real quick, give them something on that.
Real quick, you should be networking across. Anytime I've done a speaking engagement with, and I have peers on the stage, we're in a group chat talking about what are we charging this company, right? Like, so you should be having these, we should be normalizing money conversations with our girlfriends, right? You know what I mean? Like, I have girlfriends who have an appointment for their hair and their makeup every week, and and have no plan for their future. We really need to start talking about what are we actually doing here, and how can we lift as we climb. So when you talk about being a smart businesswoman, like, you need to raise your hand. People cannot read your mind, right? You need to raise your hand and ask questions to your peers who you feel like are maybe a few steps ahead of you.
Yeah, I love that. Anyone else want to add to that before we? Y'all are just, listen, they are like so hype over here, but we had this same conversation in this room, and I was like, a girlfriend once told me people will talk about sex, they'll talk about dating, they'll talk about anything but their money. And that's what needs to be normalized when you're in a room of women. Yeah, we need to talk about our money. We need to talk about, okay, well, here's what my goal is. Here's what I'm trying to do. And that makes it normal, and it makes it something that I feel comfortable enough to say, hey, Chris, can I talk to you real quick about this one thing that I'm trying to, you get it?
But you know what? There's also, like, what I've noticed as I've ascended in my career, there's a lot of underground mastermind groups, a lot of private Facebook groups that the average woman may not know about, which means you have to talk to other peers to really understand what options are available to you, or what communities are available to you, because some of them are very hush hush, they're on the low, and they do that purposely because they only want people in these communities that are about their shit. You know what I mean? So if you don't find mentors or allies or network horizontally, you are missing out on a lot of money and a lot of opportunities.
Also, to Pauleanna's point about having the access to, those exclusive communities and them being very selective of who is there. I think a really big reason for that is because the influencer marketing industry is not standardized. There's nothing about it that I can say that I wouldn't say it's not a fact, but someone else can say something that's different than what I'm saying just based on their experience. So with the Influencer League and how I manage myself as an influencer is based on my experience doing A, B, C, D, whatever, but someone else may have a completely different experience. And so being mindful of who you're looking to for mentorship, just know that it's not standard. So someone cannot tell you, oh, you have 5,000 followers, you should only charge $200. That's not the standard. You can negotiate, know your worth. If you're not comfortable taking $200 and you have 5,000 followers, charge more. Speaking to Tara's first question about nano and micro influencers, nano being 1,000 to 10,000, a lot of influencers find themselves there and feel like they can't start asking for money until they hit 10K. No, one of the most recent examples I can give is that we had an influencer within the Influencer League, and who I also know personally. She had her first $10,000 month with less than 10,000 followers, and it is because she found her lane that she was comfortable in, and she learned, how can I work with these brands and build these relationships and help them understand that my content is worth this? What is my lane? And she found that, and she's sticking with that, and she's charging more. She has over 10,000 now, but before that, she had her first 10K month with less than 10,000 because she stuck to what her plan was as an influencer. She stuck to her lane, and she stuck to those business and income goals too. Like, I want to make X amount a month. This is how much I need to be charging brands, and so on. So I think my answer, so I'm going to stop ranting, kind of touches on both the nano part about appealing to brands, and then also, talking about money and finding that mentorship in those communities where you feel like you belong.
Can I add one more thing? Both of the women have said this, but I just want to reiterate. If you are wanting to be an influencer and you don't want to be paid and it's just for fun, great. If you actually want to make money, you need to operate like a business. You should have a business plan, one that you are continually changing. There should be, like, I'm mildly OCD, so like the way that mine is structured and detailed is to like where I want it to go. Where do I, just like I do with my businesses, how I want to scale, how much money do I want to make every month? What do I need to do to make sure that I hit those numbers? Okay, cool. Then I break it down all the way to the day. Like, my 2021 is already scheduled out. Obviously, they're just projections, but operate like a business. Instagram is a business. You can't willy-nilly this thing and just expect that you're just gonna get coins. It doesn't work like that.
Got it. So that's a fantastic segue into my next question. I'll start with you, Pauleanna. And the question is, how did you start? How did you afford to create a clean and professional brand and your image collateral when you were just getting started? Like, when you were first starting out, I'm talking pictures and videos, before you were even well known or even well paid, which is where we are right now.
Yeah. For me, like, I started scrappy. I started really, really scrappy. So like, back in the day when I had a bullshit laptop with a grainy webcam, like, I was still doing YouTube videos as if, like, you know what I mean? And like, I was in my early 20s when I started doing YouTube videos, or started like warming up to the idea that like I should be on video, I should have a .com. And like, of course, people will get at you because they look at you, they've known you your whole life. So they'll look at you like, since when are you giving advice, right? Like, and they kind of, but again, like, for me, like, I've been really good with blocking out the noise. And so I started scrappy, and I allowed myself to evolve over time. And I think that like I have an appreciation from my audience because they've seen how I've developed and how I've grown. Whereas like, I did not just show up on the scene with pretty perfect pictures. It's like, they've seen that I've matured and evolved, and I've developed my voice, and I've fallen on my face and had scandals and all these things, and they've seen it all. And so for me, starting scrappy was great. But as I, had some coin for sure, because when I first started, I also had a full-time job. So, you had a little bit of money. I think it's important to invest. So like, sometimes you negotiate with photographers. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the opportunities and the people to connect with are available to you. And again, you get what you negotiate, right? So if you know how to talk and it's a mutually beneficial opportunity, you may be able to find people who can, cut you a deal. But just understand, when people do shit for free, when people cut you a deal, it may not be the quality that you want, right? So sometimes you have to also assess, what are you willing to sacrifice on this journey, right? Because for me, it's like, I didn't have a car. We talked about luxury things. I didn't have a car for 5 years because all of that money was going back into the business. I just bought my first luxury car in January of last year, right? So for me, it's like, I've slept on couches, slept in airports, you know what I mean? Like, all the scrappy stories that you hear from entrepreneurs, I'm not afraid to be broke. I'm not afraid of any of those things. So that also
Yeah, girl. Listen,
Say that
okay,
again.
you just made me have a whole moment because
She's not afraid to be broke.
no,
Okay.
I'm not. I'm not afraid of those
that.
things
I will cry.
because
That right there.
maybe
willing
risk
to-
everything. Yeah. Like you have to be willing to risk everything. You have to be willing to risk absolutely everything, you know? So, I mean, when you have high risk tolerance, then, you know, you'll always be in a good position.
All right.
Y'all gonna make Tara cry up in here. I'm gonna have to start hosting. Y'all want me to host?
We love you, Tara.
I'm getting my life because I think that's the thing. So many people are not willing to take any risk or bet on themselves, right? It's just like they're just doing, and it's like, no, you gotta be willing to do it, to make it happen, and not be afraid that if it doesn't work out, damn it, I'm gonna get up tomorrow and I'm gonna still go back and I'm gonna try to make something else work if that thing didn't work from yesterday. And it's like, that's what so many women struggle with, right? And then there's this comparison thing because we're looking at everybody else's shit and thinking that, oh, it's perfect. And it's like, but you don't know what sis had to give up or the struggle or the journey. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know that sacrifice. And so to hear women who they see and think are like, oh, this is all perfect. But it's like you're hearing her say, look, I just got a car. Because she was putting it back in the business. And those are the sacrifices that a lot of people are not willing to always make. They're not always willing to make those.
You can literally outwork your competition just by being consistent. I think at the end of the day, the rule of the game is who has the most staying power, right? Because people who started with me are currently not finishing with me. You know what I mean? Like they're not on this journey with me. So
back to talent works hard.
Yeah.
Wait, no, sorry, y'all. It's Friday afternoon.
What is that?
What is it? Talent, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
Yeah, and it's the truth. That is absolutely the truth. It's like at the end of the day, if I can out hustle you, then what? I'm gonna shine. I'm still going to shine. That brings me to what is the next question, which is when we're talking about people who are just getting started, or maybe they've been in business and they've not necessarily focused so much on their social platforms and building their brands. The question becomes, should they focus on perfecting their content or growing the following? And I think I already know the answer to it, but because I know ladies are out there like, oh, I'm gonna get it all together. And then when I do, then I'm gonna, it's like, no, put that shit out there and see what happens.
I have one thing that I tell myself and any of my coaching clients or anybody that works with us at the agency: perfection isn't profitable. That's just the rule. Post. Now, don't post crappy stuff. That's not what I mean either. But consistency isn't just about like how pretty your picture is. Consistency is your message. Consistency is where are you trying to go? Can you fulfill what it is that you're trying to do or what your business does? Can you execute at a high level? If you sit and wait, someone else is not waiting. Someone else isn't waiting. God will replace you in a heartbeat. Don't do that. You better move. If you don't move, whoever is moving is the one that's going to be where you want to be. And now we're going to play the comparison game. But you didn't move.
Yeah, you did not move on that thing. Anyone else want to add to that before we go to, we have a couple more questions from me, and then I know they're probably killing it and going crazy and blowing it up in the chat.
I would say that when it comes to content, it's not always visual. And so you don't have to, like Sarah said, you don't have to just sit around and wait. Twitter is a thing. Twitter is what helped me get my first 6-figure year last year, not Instagram. I'm not a full-time influencer. I'm not going to claim to be a full-time influencer. My income from my business is more. Am I trying to get my influencer back up a little bit? Yes, I am. And it's going well now that I can dedicate time to it. But Twitter has provided so many opportunities, like corporate sponsorship, so many amazing things that I could have never imagined Twitter could do. And it wasn't visual. It was my brain. It was my knowledge. It was my value. So you don't have to look to Instagram or YouTube or something visual like that to be the end all be all. I know people who have a very large Twitter audience who has that tribe, that community, and people willing to spend money too, who are now able to transfer all of that knowledge and that expertise and that value over to Instagram because they're ready to invest that time into making it visual. So understand, I'm not going to ignore podcasting either. Just the simple fact that content isn't always visual, so you don't have to wait till something looks perfect to be able to give your value to the world.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like just knowing your strengths, because if you are visual, you got to be like, being charismatic is a skill, right? Like, so don't just assume that you can just be on camera, because to entertain an audience is a skill, right? Like, you got to be an experience, right? So like, maybe you are good with audio, maybe you are good with, you know, Twitter, just real, what are your strengths, and play to that.
I love that, because I think a lot of people don't know where, Brittany, you just said it. You're like, look, I know my money comes from Twitter. There are so many people out there who are just throwing everything at the wall and trying to see, well, let's see what sticks, instead of working what's working. I know IG is popping for me right now. It's popping for me and my company and my brand, and that's where I'm making money. So that's where I'm nurturing relationships and content and things like that. And so not knowing where it is, again, this is being a smart businesswoman, going back and looking like, okay, where the clients come from last month? You know, like really going in and assessing that. When we talk about people who are just getting started, and so maybe they don't have all the money, or maybe they're like, look, I'm just making a little teeny weeny bit of money, and I can only really afford to spend money on one thing. What should they spend that money on when they're first starting out? We talk about, again, creating a brand that is gonna look a certain way, hopefully get us to those profitable partnerships and relationships. Where should they spend that money if they do have some?
I would say tools. And funny enough, this is actually my very first time getting a chance to meet Pauleanna and Sarah. But Pauleanna doesn't know this because this is my first time actually meeting her. But her personal story played a role in my personal story and who I am today.
That's awesome.
Literally, like my mom, I shared it with her, and I can't remember when you said it. It could have been 2 years ago, 2018. I can't remember, but you shared your story about how you worked at your 9-to-5, and that helped you build your business. And around that time, speaking of, like not being afraid to be broke, and like, how do you start off as an influencer when you don't have any money? When I started as a content creator, I was 23. I had just graduated from college with my degree. I was 7 months pregnant, and I started my first agency job where I was making like $12 an hour. And I was like, I want to be an influencer. I just became an adult overnight, like baby, job, graduating, like all this stuff. I want to talk about this through my blog, but I had $0. I was broke. They were literally only paying me $12 an hour. And I, built my own website, started doing like my own social media because my agency job was social media and digital marketing. So I was doing everything on my own. But the first tool that my mom bought me, because I was so broke, was my DSLR. And if you look at my Instagram, you look at my pictures, I'm still using that DSLR that she bought me, because she was like, you can't afford a photographer, so learn how to do it on your own. And I still have it today, and I still use it. And Pauleanna's role in how she played a role in my career where I am today was I did end up quitting my agency job for 6 months, and I was broke living with my mom with my almost 1-year-old baby. But I moved on to another agency where I am now in Arkansas. I don't work for the agency anymore, but I use Pauleanna's words to help me earn that income to build up not only my influencer streams, but also help build up the influencer league to the point where I was able to save enough and say, okay, I don't want to work for the agency anymore. I want to do the influencer league full time, on my own. So
that's amazing. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. You know what? There's no shame in having a 9-to-5 while you build your legacy. Yeah. That's the thing. I loved my job. It was just like the chapter. It was just a time for me to go. Mm-hmm. But I built a 6-figure company from my little cubicle. Like, stay at your job as long as you can. Keep your expenses low. stay home with your mama if you need to, whatever the hell you need to do, just do it, because you have to have the long-term game in mind.
Pauleanna, I'm going to ask you this because Britney made the comment. She said, you know, it's one thing to be influential, but are you being impactful? She just told you your story impacted her. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel amazing, because the thing is, like, and that's why you need to tell your truth, because you don't know when you're bringing light to someone else's place of darkness, right? Like, you don't know, like, and then, you know, some women question, you know, how is my story important? I don't know what to say. And, you know, no one really cares. Like, you'd be very surprised who's watching, right? And so, like, again, like, that's why I don't care about the vanity metrics. The metrics I actually care about is, like, when people share my post, when people forward my post, when people save my post for later, right? Because that tells me that people are very much invested, right? Very much emotionally invested into the things that I'm saying. And Britney, I love you, and I'm so, so proud of you.
Thank you, Pauleanna. Thank you for just continuing to share your story with us. And it inspires me, you know, to share mine, because it's true. You just literally never know who's watching and who you're helping. So thank you, Pauleanna. I'm so excited to meet you. And Sarah, I want to work with you. So if you see me, email you, like, whatever campaigns I'm working on, girl, let's do something.
Sarah and I have been online friends for a long time. Like, this is the first time we're
So, confession. So because of my mom, my work hours are odd. So I call the second half of my day, like my second half of my work day. So that's 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. When my kids go to bed. So I actually remember the night that I found you. You ended up on my Explore page. No idea how. And I had like a glass of wine too many. And I was like, you know what? Liquid courage. I'm just going to DM her. And you responded. And I was like, oh, she's accessible. So this is how it should be. So influence is actually responding. Influence is actually connecting. And I was like, okay, cool. I really like her. Follow. And now I'm like, am I a stalker if I keep commenting on every picture and every photo? We'll do a workout. And I'm like, yes, give it to me. Let's get it. Let's go. And
so funny.
I'm so glad she doesn't know me in real life.
Oh my God, that's so fantastic. This has been a wonderful, it feels like a girl crush, right? Like, it's just, because this is what it should be like, right? This is what it should feel like. We should be inspiring and encouraging one another, and sharing the information and talking about, you know, the pitfalls and the girl, here's, you know, this, or I would do it this way. This is what community feels like, right? This is what that sisterhood absolutely feels like. So I think you all, this was I almost feel like, thank y'all for letting me be here in y'all's chat, because this was really, really just great. And I think that the people, I already know that I feel better just listening to it, right? Because again, you're always trying to just get it right. I know that the people have been touched. We have some questions. I'm going to ask one last question here from the chat part of the panel, and then I have some questions from our audience who have been listening in faithfully and dropping in things in the chat, and then we'll get finished. So the last question that I'm going to ask is, again, we started this talking about how do I become an influencer and that kind of thing. What would be the best social media platform to start a brand? Like, if I was just starting out right now, and say that I'm in business services, because I know, again, all different brands, you know, you might pop in one place or the other, but say that I was coaching women in their careers, right? Coaching women in their careers. Where should I start off?
So I'll come from a different angle. I think the most forgotten about platform is LinkedIn. LinkedIn has the friendliest algorithm. So specifically speaking to the scenario you painted, LinkedIn, I've made a lot of money from LinkedIn, but I feel like people are so old school in their thinking. They think, oh, I'm only going to use it when I need a job. When really it's like, it has the friendliest algorithms and people engage with video content. Like, you know, I think over 200 million people engage with video content monthly. You know, so I really do think that it's a playground. I feel like it's like the adult playground. You know what I mean? Like, and I personally want to advocate for LinkedIn, because I know, like, it's always left out of the discussion.
And Pauleanna, I hear people say, I've heard in recent months, people say, I make money on LinkedIn. Explain to people what that means. I know, but tell me what it means.
Yeah, like you need very minimal activity on LinkedIn to make a big difference. I'll post 3 or 4 statuses a week. And because the algorithms are so friendly, several thousand people see it. The people in their network see it. And then I get tons of people who add me. And then I respond to everyone who adds me and I ask, how can I assist you? How can I help you? I get on phone calls. Like sales is very intentional. You cannot wing sales. It's guaranteed to work if you are very intentional. And so through the funnel and through the calls that I have and the dancing, I'm a closer. So I close deals. I mean, like easily 20K, 30K, like that's it, right? So yeah.
And ladies, the reason I specifically asked that question for those of you who were out there listening to this on Hopped In is because I wanted her to tell you strategy, right? Because a lot of times, like when they say go on LinkedIn, and she just showed you strategy. She says I post 4 times a week. I make sure I go in and I comment. I make sure I follow up with people. I interact with them. And then from there, she follows up yet again because now they know her. Because as we know, no one goes and reads one post these days. They go down the rabbit hole. They're like, who's this? That's what I did when I first found out about her. I'm like, who's this chick, right? And so from there, they continue to engage. She gets to the phone call. She gets to the sale. So that's how you sell on LinkedIn. She just gave you the steps, the funnels, all of the things you need to do.
And then the last thing I'll say really quickly, it's the only platform where you can really look up people by their industry or by their title. So like, even if you work in the influencer space, you're also going to use LinkedIn because you need to get in touch with if you're doing pitching, you need to get in touch with the right people in the right organizations you know what I mean? So you should be on LinkedIn anyways, right?
That's fantastic.
Oh
my God. Sarah, before we get into the questions.
And I have to add to that. I'm going to sound really stalkerish. However, some of the relationships that I have made are because I was on LinkedIn. The most PR, most marketing agency, or most brands, whoever is in charge of major deals doesn't have 100,000 followers. They don't have 90, you know what I mean? They don't have 1 million followers. Most of the time, they only have about 1,000. So you go, you follow them, you engage, you have conversation. Don't be a creeper, but build that relationship. And then it's easy to stand out on LinkedIn because there's not really a lot. And then if you move that over, which is what I will do, is I'll move the LinkedIn conversation and I'll move it over to Instagram. They only have 500, 1,000. It's so easy to stand out. And a lot of times when I don't sleep on the DMs, slide in the DMs, have
all the way,
build them, because I can't tell you how, one of the big deals that I just signed, actually, the woman told me that nobody ever DMs me. She said, no. She said, I wanted to work with you just because you had the cojones to DM me. People want to feel acknowledged. They don't want to feel used. So make sure that you're building these conversations. And then the other platform that I want to make sure that I talk about, and I'm a huge advocate for, is Pinterest.
Yes.
There's so much money to be made on Pinterest. And it's easy. It's such an easy platform to use. You do need to pin at least 5 to 10 times every single day. But it could be quotables. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to create so much content. You can pin TikToks, which is what I do. I will pin my Instagram, my blog. I will pin, people really love motivational things. People love cooking. So anything with food. Let's say you are someone, I'm a fitness blogger and I love food, but I don't necessarily post food over here, or it's just on my stories. If it's on my blog, I will pin it. The traffic from Pinterest is stupid. It's on Pinterest.
I've used it. I accidentally, by chance this summer, posted a video and it happened to go over there. And I looked at the numbers and I'm in bed with my husband, you see these numbers? Thousands of people are watching this video. What is going on here? So definitely don't sleep on that. Hello, Christy.
Okay, y'all. Besides the fact that y'all have brought everyone to tears for a second, okay, and your energy together is phenomenal, okay, and we're sitting here looking at the chat. Y'all can't see the chat, but we over here looking at the chat. Add this question.
There's more. But wait, there's more. What's that?
I want everybody, Britney is my influencer coach. Pauleanna, I appreciate and respect because every time I see her page, I feel like I need to go work harder, you know, because Pauleanna got that energy.
Yeah.
Sarah, I just met, and what did I tell you last week, Sarah? I love your energy, right? These are the perfect women together on one panel. Who knew? You know, I handpicked you, but I didn't know you were going to mesh this well. Okay. Can you please tell the women, because you're all coming from a different area of business, but to me, you all have like a similar spirit, right? Can you please tell the women, some of these women don't have the money. They haven't had any success yet. What do they do? Because they're discouraged. They're discouraged. How do I go out there? I can't hire a photographer yet. I don't have 1,000 followers yet, right? I don't have a brand really yet. What can I do right now to start, get ready for 2021? Some people are changing and doing this major pivot because of Corona. You know, what can they do? Because now they're finally ready. They're finally ready. We done watch Pauleanna go from working a 9 to 5 to at the Range Rover dealership, ghostwriting to Forbes to all this. We done watch Britney Bright be a PR rep in corporate, then break out on her own. You know, tell these women, tell them about it. Like, what would it feel like? What did it feel like when you woke up the next morning and you didn't have to go to a job? You know? Okay, I'm out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you're doing. Who wants to go?
B, you want to go?
Go ahead, Brittany.
Okay. Well, first, I will say that if you're looking for education, the Influencer League is offering a free 6-week masterclass. MSL was so gracious enough to sponsor 1,000 students to go through our course. So if you're looking to take it to the next level, especially in time for 2021, then definitely check that course out. We start at the beginning with influencer branding. We take you all the way through to social media growth, to monetization, brand deals, and blogging. It's all in there for free. If you go to theinfluencerleague.com and you click on 6-week masterclass, you can apply. It's open to anyone who identifies as Black, Indigenous, or person of color, 18 years old, based in the US. I wish I could open up to international influencers, but right now we're just partnered with MSL on the US side. So I would say definitely start there if you're looking to learn a little bit more. But if you are at that space where you do not have 1,000 followers, I can tell you, I have worked with influencers and paid them, and they have less than 1,000 followers. Was it substantial? No, not necessarily. But was it cash money that they got in less than 30 days? Yes. So definitely research some of those influencer networks out there who don't have those strict follower counts, especially if you don't have at least 1,000 followers. Start there. Maverick is a wonderful platform. It's spelled MAVRCK. They offer campaigns, whether it be, $100, $200, sometimes $300. They're very generous with working with nano influencers. And that's the biggest thing with the Influencer League is that while we do work with influencers who have over 100,000 followers, so many of our students right now have less than 10,000. And it's very hard for influencers with less than 10,000 followers to get management to help them secure those deals. So we're really pushing that education on, look into these influencer networks, gain this education. So, here's how I, find out my target audience. Here's how I, create content on my own, which is my cell phone. Here's how I edit with free Lightroom and a preset, so start with that education first and look into some of those influencer networks.
One of the questions that someone asked real quick, Brittany, that you can answer is describe what a micro influencer is. Nano, describe the numbers for them real quick.
Of course. So everyone has different tiers, but the general tiers are hyper influencers have 100 to 1,000 followers. Nano influencers have 1,000 to 10,000 followers. Micro influencers have 10,000 to 100,000 followers. Some people stop at 50. Some people go all the way to 100,000. Mid-tier, 100,000 to 500,000. And then macro or celebrity, 500,000 or more.
Perfect. real quick, either of you two wanted to answer those questions because we're going to be wrapping up soon. For your questions, ladies, we're going to drop these in the chat because these are questions that the ladies could just really quickly jump over and answer because they're more specifically about, you know, how do I up-level my business if people are trying to book me. So things that they could go in and answer because I think this was probably way more meaty and more juicy than any one question that you could have asked about how many times do I post on Pinterest today. I already wrote it down. Sarah told us 5 to 10 times a day. So I answered that one for you. For Sarah and Pauleanna, for Kristen's last question that she asked, if you all had anything else you want to add before we wrap up from this fantastic panel.
Absolutely. If you don't truly feel what you want to experience, it'll never manifest into form. So I'm going to get woo-woo for a little bit, right? Like I work hard. I work very hard, but when I tell you the law of attraction is so real, right? Before I purchased my Range Rover, I test drove Range Rovers, right? Give the people. Right. So it's every single day, my vision board, it's the screensaver on my phone, it's on my desktop, right? Like I set my intention every single day. I recite my goals, I ground myself. So the thing is, I think a lot of people are chasing goals that they're not mentally conditioned for. Right. So it's very, very, before you get to Britney, there's a lot of internal work that you need to do first, or else Britney's not going to be able to help you.
That's so fantastic.
But yeah.
Sarah, I can't even gather myself, Sarah. Go ahead.
I don't know. One of the things that I want to make sure that I mention, and we've talked about this before, is understanding your why. When you know your why, everything else kind of falls into place. It's where self-work comes in. It's where really getting to understand yourself comes in. For me, I didn't necessarily have the most traditional route to becoming an influencer. It was, your pain could be someone else's answer to a prayer. It's almost, I felt a responsibility knowing that I had an advantage. I knew that I had a level of privilege, and it was my responsibility to talk, to say something. It was, like I said at the beginning for my bio, it was from a place of anger. It was from a place of, not from why is this happening to me, but it's what do I do with this energy and how can I make it positive? For me, the most difficult aspect of influence is my family. And the reason why I started influencing is because of my son. The reason why I started this whole darn thing is because my son is nonverbal. So it's like, I have a voice, he doesn't. I am required to be his voice. And every time I'm tired and it's 2, 3, 4 in the morning and I'm working on a campaign, if like today, I think I've been up since 5 in the morning, and I will be up today for client shoots until probably 5 in the morning. Because I know my why and where I started, it's not that it's not hard, it's that I've done so much self-work and I've done so much, the ladies are saying you have to be so intentional about your journey and where you want to go with it and what your people will ask us, I'm sure often, like, how do you stay motivated? And motivation is based on how you feel. Your motivation is kind of fleeting. It's based on your emotions. Do I feel like going to the gym? Am I motivated to go work out? No, it's not fun. I don't want to, but I do it because I have to. And I know that I need to. Do I enjoy it now? Yes. Sorry. But when I first started, I used my phone. I didn't have any equipment. I didn't have anything. I just knew that I needed to start. Right? And I had to have a message. I knew I had something to say. For the sake of my son, I had to have something to say.
Wow. Ladies, this has been a powerful moment that I don't think any of us expected, right? We were thinking we were coming to talk about, we're going to end on time. But I think if we go back to how we started this conversation, it started off with us all talking about authenticity, right? Showing who you really are. And for those of you who have been here today and just watching and able to participate, these ladies have truly shown you their hearts, right? So you see the brands, right? You see the social media, these are the women behind that. And so I pray that all of you have taken something away from this conversation. You know how to find them on social. If you're not already, you need to be following all three of them. I'm gonna go gather myself. I'm gonna go gather myself because this talk was just really, really good and so genuine and what's needed, so needed. So ladies, I thank you all so much for being here with me. You are just fantastic, like so super duper fantastic.